Okay, looking at staying safe on the bottom of mount. Um, this is a topic that I wasn't ever like necessarily instructed on as a white belt or even a blue belt or even a purple. Just kind of one of those things that you pick up as you go. But rather than expecting you to spend countless hours on the mat to figure these things out, I want to show you the basic safeties to stay safe on bottom of mount. Now, granted, if you're on the bottom of mount, you're not safe just from a standpoint of position. So let's clear that up first. You don't want to be there. You want to be the person mounting. But if you're on bottom, there's things that you need to pay attention to. So before I click play and get into this, I want to point out that there's a difference between staying safe in a self-defense situation where you're mounted, and there's a difference between um, jujitsu, right? Because either I'm contending with strikes coming at me or I'm not. And both of those have different applications. So let's start taking a look at that. I believe that's kind of what I open with. Yep. So yes, I do. From mounted position, as you can see, um, if I'm contending with strikes, this position, which is kind of one of the better ways, minus my elbows are up, blocking my face and my legs are flat, which you can't see currently, is not ideal. Why? Because I have no way to escape. I'm just sitting there trying to cover up. If this is a self-defense situation, then I want to make sure my head is connected to him so it's hidden from the power of his strikes, right? So in this case, if he tried to start striking, the power is very much diminished, which if you looked at lesson 1 about mount escapes, these should look familiar. So note there's a difference. If I'm talking about purely jiu-jitsu, this is, my elbows should be lower, but this is pretty much ideal here. Bringing my elbows down some more so he can't get under. I'm just going to blame it on my big biceps. And my legs flat so he can't hook underneath, because if you remember lower body controls, what do they want? They need to hook my legs. If my legs are flat to the mat, I've separated the toes, right? Which was one of the things I told you guys we need to be aware of. Then it's harder for him to be able to use his hips into my hips. He has nothing to hook onto. And if he can't get an underhook, then he has a hard time controlling my upper body or keeping me flat. Which he should probably, yeah, strikes as in consideration. I told him, go ahead and try to submit me. Like, what are you looking for? It's pretty difficult because I'm engaging my lats. I can't pull my arms. Yep, he can't even get underneath me because my legs are flat, or at least he has a difficult time, right? Because the weight in my legs. So, I mean, that's an ideal position for just defending. But the reason why you don't see people do that is either they're not thinking about it, or number two, they realize that that is not a sufficient position to escape. It only allows you to cover up and defend. And if you're defending, you have to defend everything. But if they're attacking, uh, they only need to succeed one time, which means your defense, the first failure can be the end. So we don't want to just defend. We want to keep working our way up to a better position. All right, so now we're looking at normal mount. Okay, so this is the most common thing that I see folks do. This is called grapevining. Grapevining means that he is hooked down here. Usually it's below the knee, right? Well, it is. It's below the knee, using his ankles, and sometimes it's painful. Usually this is common amongst white belts. Sometimes blue belts you'll see it, but it's pretty crap. It doesn't really do a whole lot if you know what you're doing. So pretty easy to escape. So they think they have a lot of control here, and all I'm going to do is put weight into my knee. Oftentimes I'll touch my knees together just to get a little momentum, but I'll open my knee and put my weight flat, and I'm just going to kick straight out. That's it. That's it. And then I'm going to bring my foot back to center and pull my heel in so it's harder for them to access. Yep, both sides. That's it. He grapevines again. Weight on the knee. Pull it in. Yep, see, I'm pointing out the weight. Drop the weight, kick. Drop the weight, kick. Even if he's holding really tight, come over the top. There it is. Simple. And if I put my legs back down, it's even harder for him to do it. But that's a conversation for after. See, in this case, which this will come up later, this position right here that you see is, is a position I actually like to hold when I'm under mount. Okay, so now we have the hooks, right? We have grapevines down here. Hooking is where they get a lot of hip engagement, right? They pull their feet to the sky, which I talked about in the lower body controls for mount. And this is much harder to escape. or so it seems. The reason why it's hard to escape is because I don't have direct access to the feet, right? And also I have the hip pressure. This alone is not a problem. It's a problem when I'm having to defend my upper body too, but it's very similar. I'm going to drop my weight. Look at that, dropping my weight, but now I'm going to take my opposite side foot and I'm going to step on him. That lets me push off. Now, if you'll pay attention to his face, it hurts. I will actually step sometimes on the ankle slash calf area with all my weight, and I'll use that. The pain will allow me to roll them over, but I don't recommend you do this because it is painful. It can hurt your partner. You save that for the person that's being a little too much in the gym. But I'm just going to kick it away and get my leg flat, or at least pull my heels back in. So he hooks. He's giving me really tight hooks. In this case, he crossed his ankles, which this is actually the position, excuse me, that I take the most. I like to cross my ankles. It gives me a good stability base. It makes it hard for him to access my feet, and then I get to attack the upper body if I was him. But on bottom, I'm going to use just some weight to put it flat on the mat, right? Can't access it. So boom, legs down. See, there's already, you saw his face, ow, because his ankles are crossed. Foot in, kick it off. There it is. Bring my foot inside. Yep, right there. He's like, ow, ow, ow. Yep. I'm trying to be light because it's my son. See, it's a lot, but it lets me get inside. So that's how I like to clear that. Weight down. Yep. Make them regret it. There. Okay, so that's what I typically do. What I'm doing is once I clear the legs, I like to bring one leg to the mat and touch my knee to the mat. To do that requires that I get my opposite side hip up. If you all remember, when you're on top, you want to keep them flat, right? Well, if that's the case, then my goal on bottom is not to be flat. They want me flat. I don't want to be flat. So what I do is I put my knee into the mat. Oftentimes my foot will barely be touching the mat, if at all. And this makes it very difficult for them to get anything underneath me again, because I'm driving the weight through my knee. But once my knee points up, it's easier for them to gain access. All right, now we're looking at the hip line. So I don't want them to climb up, right? If they climb up to high mount, it's more difficult, but we do have answers, which I think is the next lesson. So I always want to keep my elbows in. Also, it denies their underhooks. So my elbows in, which goes back to the first lesson, close to my sides, meaning they can't travel forward. And also they can't gain underhooks for control, right? If it's up, there's the underhook, or they're going to climb up to high mount, and now I have harder or more things to deal with, or at least more difficult problems. So I want to be able to access the inside position between his elbows. So therefore I'm going to keep my elbows down, and I can keep working on being inside. That is bad. He's going to slide up, right? My elbows are disconnected from my body, so I keep them connected. Notice how my head stays off the mat. This goes back to I don't want to stay flat. Now again, I wouldn't stay in this shoulder, hip. This is just for demonstration. I'd be on my side. I'm always looking to get there. As you can see, I'm trying to stop him from able to dig underneath. So there. Let me go back again. Oh, yeah, we're there. That. If I can get to my side, which just talking about the lower body right now, because I'd be on my side, which we'll talk about here in a minute with my shoulders. But once I put that knee in the mat, it is really difficult for him to get back underneath me. I'm telling him, go ahead, keep trying, keep digging. As you can see, my foot's free because all the weight's in my knee. That's me trying to demonstrate that. When my knee pops up, look at that. They're going to get there. So get to your side, dig your knee, and it makes it much more difficult for them to get underneath you. But to get your knee to the mat, you have to pick your hip up. So this gets to the next part. Now we've done the leg, we go to the hip again. I need to ensure that he cannot climb up. So I'm going to do is I'm going to put what I call the safety bar, or the safety guard. Like if you think you're on a roller coaster, right? There's those bars that cover your hip line. It feels like a less safe version of a seatbelt because it's very rigid. Well, I'm gonna do something similar to stop him from being able to climb. So I'm gonna take if my leg is flat on the right, my left arm is going across his hips. We're gonna get a better view here in a second. There. So what I want to point out here is my elbow is outside his hip. A lot of people make the mistake by putting their elbow inside the hips, like between their two hips, and it does not work. They're going to slide right up. So what I do is I keep my elbow on the outside. Yes, not there. He will slide right up. Yep, just like that, and he's going to take your back. So to stop him, because some of you might have thought, well, if you're on your side, your back's exposed. I stop that by getting my elbow on the outside. So when he tries to slide up, I'm in the way. So this elbow is to my body, this elbow is out past the hip line, and I have a safety bar, and my leg is flat on the mat. Knee is poking into the mat. Yep, there. That right there. I have space, and I have ability to move at that point. He's going to have a difficult time. What he's usually going to try to do is look to get my head to the mat, but it's difficult because he can't move his hips forward. So here we go. I think now I'm probably going to look at how to make him keep having to move. Okay, yep. So shrimping. If you haven't learned to shrimp, you're going to need to learn to shrimp. If you're going to play bottom of anything or be on bottom, you need to know this move. Now, this whole lower body staying safe, this isn't about escaping. The reason why I'm showing you this is because this position that I'm talking about getting to is going to arm you to do lots of different escapes. So I'm not telling you to get somewhere arbitrary just because. What I'm pointing out here is the feet work is missing. You have to have good feet work, which I'll talk about here in a second. But I'm showing you this because it'll become a big position later when we start talking about escapes. So what I'm going to do is just like the UPA or the, when we did the first lesson about mount, mount sweeping, where we're rolling over our shoulder. I'm doing the same thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get to that position I was just talking about, where I have the safety bar, and I'm going to go over my shoulder, not my head. But to do that, you see how my foot came in? I have to bring my heel as close to my butt as possible if I want this to work. If my foot is out there, I don't have enough to push off of. And what I'm doing is I'm pushing into my shoulder to pick my hips off the mat. And I'm going to slide my hips up towards my butt. See how high my leg got? Or excuse me, my butt got? Look at that again. Leg comes in, my other knee's flat. Boom. And that allows me to put my legs in between us. We're no longer mounted. Which, if you want to stay safe, the safest way to play being underneath somebody of mount is not to be there, right? And all I did was one simple movement from that position that I'm talking about working towards. So here we go. I bring my foot in, right? I get to my side. Oh, doing it in the air. Okay, so I bring that foot in. I have my safety bar on my shoulder, push off. Then I bring my knees inside. Okay, doing it again. Yes, bring that foot in. I'm on my shoulder. Notice how what this does is create space. If I'm flat, he has full contact hip to hip. But when I turn to that side, it's gone. All right, now, let's say you try to do this, but it didn't work. They climbed right up to high mount. High mount is so dangerous if you don't know what to deal with. But I would much rather have a regular mount on me than a high mount because, now your hips are pretty much out of it, or so it seems. But still stands. I'd rather not be high mounted. My elbows are in, but whatever reason, when I went to this, oh, am I going to finish it? Okay. I guess I got a little ahead of myself. Where am I going? My knee is not pointed to the mat. Oh, he was probably confused just as much as I am right now. Yep. So all of it failed. Yep, I was right. He gets up to high mount. He walks up. He's starting to look at submitting me. I am in danger. I don't want this. My arms are completely exposed. They're not at my sides. If they're not at my sides, I have a hard time defending them. And look, my hips, I can't drive off much, right? So my first thought needs to be stopping his advance forward and getting my elbows to my side. Before I try any big movement, that's what I want to be thinking about. So I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hands together because he's usually looking to armbar right here or triangle. Like that's the big ones you're going to see. So before I have to entertain the armbar, I want to put them together and then I want to try scooting up. Yep, I'm going to pull down just like you saw, and I'm going to pull my heels into my butt, which is super important. If you just kick off, again, from out here, you don't have the drive. I'm going to then try to Hulk smash down my elbows while pushing off my heels to slide upwards as hard as possible. All in one motion. Yep, that's not going to work. I have to push. Heels in, elbows in, shove down, shoot up. Squat power. Here we go. Which you can't see my squat rack in this, but that's okay. That. And then I can start getting to my position, getting that elbow or my knee down, right? My legs up. I have my safety bar in place. Head's off the mat. I'm on my side. He cannot get underneath me. And now if I want to, I can start working on that shrimp or escapes that we're going to learn after this. Okay, right here again. Yep, not working. Now, sometimes, and I don't think I do it in this video, sometimes when they're not all the way up, but they're on their way, you can just walk your shoulders backwards. That also will work, but this is late stage, right? They're already ready to attack. They're up high. I'm in danger. Yes. I've got to get there, then I got to get to my side. I'm already looking to do an escape. I just stopped myself, but I got to point that knee into the mat, preventing them from bringing their big toes together, get to my side for safety. Yeah, now he tries to climb. He can't. He can't get underneath me. He's having a hard time. I could take half guard here if I want half guard, but I'd rather be on top. So now that should be, what is that? Oh, we're doing it again. I'm saying see it from the top. Yep, that makes sense. Come on, wife. Walk around. Help me out here. Pick it up. All right, here we go. Oh, yes. We talked about one of the great controls, right, of separating the body or the head from the head from the arm. Well, if you've paid attention to this point, you've noticed that I advocate heavily for head and arm control. I want one arm around the head, one arm around the arm, and I want to put the arm to the head. You should not want that done to you, but everybody thinks like once the hand comes under, they just agree to accept it. I am not going to agree to accept it. This is the simplest way to buy time. This move you're about to see is extremely simple, does not require being strong. People think, oh, he's so strong when I do this to folks, and I do it with all my limbs, actually. I'm just using weight. That's it. You can use weight from the bottom. And I'm going to then buy time to get inside his elbows, inside position, stop him from underhooking me, getting behind my head. Look at that. He can't get underneath. You can't even see any sunlight coming through. What am I doing? Look at my chin. Look at that nice double chin there. I'm creating a double chin by pulling my chin back and tucking my neck into the mat. And then all I'm doing is looking slightly towards the direction where that hand is coming from. And what happens is it makes it really difficult to get underneath. Yep, so he wants to get underneath. See the sunlight? Yep, that's what he wants. So I tuck my chin. Look, sunlight goes away. It's really hard. And look, I have the time to get inside and stop that. I catch so many people with this because they just expect that I'm going to accept the arm coming under my head. I'm not. You'll see this again later when we start looking at side control. But if you want to keep your head safe, and you should, this is so simple. Note though, this is not the answer, meaning they will eventually get there if you don't do something. I can't sit in that position, right? He wants that. But what it does is buys me time. Look at that. All that space is stuck because he keeps fighting for it. It's not going to happen. So to stop the arm from coming through the head, I'm going to tuck my chin and look towards it. Now, let's say he got it already. And in this case, he's looking then to get a limb. Oh, look, we're both like, what's going on? Telling her to move so she can see. Because I was like, can you see my arm? She said, yes. That was a lie. All right. So she wants to do this, or he wants to do this. He wants to bring my arm up. So oftentimes I can stop this, or at least buy time. What I'm going to do is the same principle, is by tucking my chin and putting the weight in. I'm going to put the weight into my elbow. So he tries to come under, which I'm telling him, come up under my armpit right now. And even then, I'm putting the weight between my elbow and my shoulder. And what you can't see is the power of putting the weight here is reliant on the opposite side leg. So I'm picking my hip up a little bit off the mat to put more weight into my arm and shoulder. What this is going to do is make it very difficult for him to slide underneath. See? I'm telling him, go ahead, slide, slide, slide. And I know I have giant biceps. I understand. But and huge triceps, probably the biggest that there is. But he still can't get there. It's just I'm putting weight into it, and I'm using that to buy time to swim my arm in. Now, I want you to notice when my hand comes in, I don't move my elbow. I'm pivoting my hand around it as much as possible. Look, go ahead, go under, go under. He can't. And there's my underhook. Bad for him. That's it. I'm picking the weight slightly off on the opposite side off my hip to drive the weight into my elbow. Buys me time. Underhook. It is very simple. Look, even up here, he's already under part way. He's going to start walking, but I'm going to put the weight really heavy into his hands. So it makes it harder for him to slide, to buy myself time to get under. It is not the answer. It is not going to stop the move, but it will buy you time to hopefully escape it. That's what I'm trying to illustrate. He wants this. I want to swim around it. All I'm doing is putting the weight in. Yep, I'm trying to demonstrate that my elbow doesn't move much. I move around my elbow. If I do that, where I come up, he's going to take the arm. So he starts moving up. I'm putting the weight in. There it is. You have to drop the weight. Make it hard for them to pick it up. It's a simple thing that people don't typically realize until, much later in the game. Weight is not just for the person on top, it's also for the person on bottom if you know what you're doing to some degree. Okay, so he wants me split. This is what we are talking about, right? If you looked at upper body controls, this is a great position for me. It leads into submissions, it leads into control. It sucks because power flows where the nose goes. They want to explode that direction, but if you keep the hand pinned, they can't, right? So I don't want this. So I'm trying to demonstrate is my hand's going to lose the battle. So what I need to do is continue to work on clearing to look at it. I do not want him ever to separate the limb that he has in control from the direction I'm looking. Everything I do will be about trying to defend is going to be keeping my ability to see that limb. If I can't see it, I can't put power into it. So I'm pretending in this case that, his arm's 1,000,000 pounds and I cannot move it. And I'm telling him to split it. I'm going to do everything I can to keep getting inside his elbows. As you see, I keep trying to get inside his elbow space and keep my eyes on my hand. You are in danger the moment that you cannot see it anymore. If you cannot face it, you don't have the power, right? He's going to keep trying to separate it. So do not let them do it. Do not let your limb get separated from the direction you're looking. So I'm just going to walk through them solo. Here we go. Put the weight in on the grapevines. Yep, and then swim around. Same thing we did with the elbows. If you're hooked, drop the weight, step, bring your foot inside. Yep, let's do it again. Here we go. Now, I don't want my arms extended because they're going to slide up, so my elbows are in. In this case, I just did a grapevine. I got to my side. My knee is into the mat, and look, I'm up. My head's off the mat. My shoulder's off the mat. I'm on that hip. My knee is dug in. It's a great position for me, right? My foot can move because all the weight is in my knee. And I have my safety bar going across, right? The hips are on the inside. My elbow's on the outside. And I bring that foot in, and that's how I'm going to do my nice hip escape there. Or shrimping. Yep. You have to bring your foot to your butt to have the power. In that case, then I bring my knees inside. All right. Now my elbows are up. He's in a high mount. I'm going to Hulk smash down, but I'm going to bring my heels to me first, and I'm going to drive off. That will not work. Yep. In, Hulk smash. There it is. And then I'm going to try to, or walk like that. That was the walk, right? Walk my shoulders back if I can. Can't always do it, though. In this case, he's trying to get arm under my head. Look, tuck, look. That's it. Swim inside. Good luck. Tuck, look, swim inside. It's a beautiful pose. He has my arm pinned. Look, I'm going to put the weight into, which you saw my hip come up slightly. I'm swimming around it. The weight's in my elbow and my shoulder. And I'm going to swim around it. That's it. I'm on my side. Good. Because I don't want him to separate the direction I'm looking from the limb that he has pinned. That is it. If there's anything I want you to take from this, for as far as the concept, it's the concept of using weight on the bottom, right? Which you saw. Everything I did involved weight. If we're talking about the grapevines, let's look at that again. Okay, grapevines. I drop weight first. Let's see it. Come on, drop weight, drop the leg, and then I kick out. That. Weight from the bottom exists. If I go to the super or the hooks, right? Let's see it right here. I drop weight. That's how I'm getting in to separate. Even if he's crossed, I drop weight. Can't access it otherwise. Drop weight. Boom. Let's look at the next one. Look at that right there. Now that I made it inside, I put weight through my knee. So that way he cannot get underneath me again. It's gone. In order to get up, I have to drive weight forward, right? By pulling back with my heels. And where's the last one? Look, weight in my neck. Weight in my arm. All this stuff that I just showed you relies on the fact that I can use weight on the bottom. I have heard countless people over the past 2 decades of jiu-jitsu say things like, well, I need to be on top so I can drive weight through. And it's like, well, you're not wrong. You can put a lot of weight through, but that is the key to your defense from the bottom. Your positioning and your weight. Oftentimes, your positions on bottom or your ability to recover things on bottom is because your weight is wrong. I had one of my students, I think it was last week, actually mention that when he's trying to pass my guard, I use my weight to stop him from passing. And for people that are wondering, how are you doing this? Well, I use my weight in the same ways you just saw. If they want to move your limb a certain way, if you make that thing feel like 200 pounds, it doesn't move like it does when it's 2 pounds. So when you find yourself in bad positions and you recognize that your opponent wants to move you, can you make it heavier? If they want to get underneath you, can you make it heavier? And the answer is almost always yes. But understand that using weight is not the final answer, meaning it's not going to shut down everything. It's going to slow their advance to give you time to move. And that's what I want you to think about. That is the concept. All these things rely on that. If I want to stay safe, I need to buy time because I'm in a bad spot. So I'm going to use my weight distribution against the things that they want in order to slow them down so I can get a more advantageous position or underhook to get to that position. So go out and try these things. If you have issues, of course, feel free to reach out. But good luck. Hopefully, this keeps you safe.